comment section, begin complaining now. Cue title scene. Black Bullet is a 2014 sci-fi fantasy action anime that has gotten the reviews of all the what the fuck is this? And holy crap, this is horrible. Yes, it seems as though the general consensus is this series is not good. A lot of people were really disappointed. A lot of people are saying they hated it. And what about me? Well, let me make one thing very clear. I know a lot of times when people watch reviews and the person doing the reviewing doesn't share the same opinion as them, they will often say that reviewer is just selling out to appeal to the mainstream audience and they're just doing it to get views. First up, I don't think the majority of reviewers do this, and for those who do, shame on them, but allow me to assure you, whenever I give an opinion, it's what I honestly believe and how I honestly viewed things. Now, that is based on the way I see things, and I respect the way you see things. I am simply giving my advice if it is worth watching or not. And as far as Black Bullet goes, I think this is really worth watching. I kind of loved this show. First up, the premise. I think this is where the problems begin. Black Bullet has kind of a very interesting and rather complicated concept to it. Essentially, the idea is that mankind went to war with the theory of the alien virus that lands on the comet, or an Earth virus, or they never really go into it. Essentially, it caused that when it infected people, it turned them into these giant, monstrous creatures called Gastria. They mostly look like big insects, some look more animalistic, and others look like just what the fuck. And perfectly honest, the designs of these things I think are awesome. The ones that are insects work because they have the right level of darkness and the right amount of CGI in them for them just to look that right combination of otherworldly and just dastardly dangerous. And the same goes for the others as well. But essentially, mankind went to war with the Gastria, and we didn't defeat them. We were able to get things under control and more or less reclaim our society, but they are still a threat. And that's where our series picks up with our main character, Rentaro. He is what's called a civil officer, which means it's his job to find Gastria and destroy them before they can destroy us. But civil officers aren't alone. Each one of them teams up with someone who was infected by the Gastria virus. That's right, if you were pregnant, and obviously for that you have to be a woman, if you were pregnant and you had a female fetus in you, you basically passed the Gastria virus onto them, but instead of turning into a giant monster, it actually gives them mutant superpowers for some reason, so they're half kid, half Gastria. Here's the catch, and here's where I think most people get lost with this. All this happened 10 years prior to our main story, which means that they're all little girls, and this show is essentially lollies versus giant bugs. Well, for a lot of people, this is sort of where the problem comes into. How do you take something like that seriously? Well, a lot of people thought going to it, this was just going to be a fun, shoot-'em-up action show with stellar action, which there is, maybe some interesting plot twists here and there, which there are, and some funny characters, which, once again, there are. But the thing is that the way they go about it. First up, let's still focus on our main lolly that fights vampires, Enju. Enju is your typical big ball of energy. She's imaginative, she's hyperactive, she likes to joke and say Rentaro's her husband, she likes to fool around with everyone, cause a little mischief here and there. She's a kid. And to be perfectly honest, they treat her like a kid. Her dialogue sounds right, the voice sounds right, her behavior makes sense. She acts like a real 10-year-old girl. And I really like Rentaro. He's got a personality. He's simple in what he wants. He wants to do right. He believes that the girls should be treated like regular people. He believes all these things. And because of this, he doesn't really have too much going on, but what is there I thought was really worth watching and was really excellently executed. And the thing is that the show kind of goes through the different arcs. And at first glance, like I said, we all thought these arcs would be just these kids versus monsters. But it's not. It's actually a very intelligent, well-made political thriller, not just sci-fi action. But, again, like I said with Godzilla and Kill La Kill and Amazing Spider-Man 2, it all depends on what you're looking for. If you're just looking for a straight-up, fun action show, you might be a little let down. Even though the action when we get it is kick-ass, a lot of it, especially the middle part, is very much focused on the society element of it, the politics of this world. Like I said, this is a political thriller. And not everyone can really go for that. Especially because there's not a lot of warning to it. Each arc just sort of shows up and just sort of throws itself in there. So in that respect, the plot is a little lazy, as there are other things that are sort of brought up. Like apparently the two of them with their boss with big boobs friend, they have a company that does all this and they're for hire, but that's never really brought up. For some weird reason, they're in high school, but that's never really brought up. It's just used in passing dialogue. A lot of stuff like that I thought really could have been worked on, put together better, and just better executed. However, what is there is still pretty good, as there's actually a lot of very intelligent social commentating in this show about the way people in power manipulate media, how they manipulate other people, about just in general the way we treat people, how we treat children, how we often put our problems onto children. I'm not going to lie, there are scenes they show of the news that felt like they were ripped right out of Fox News complaining about Mexicans. I thought that element of things was handled very well, and that's what kept me into it. I was fascinated by the way the politics of this world worked. It did in 13 episodes what Attack on Titan tried and failed to do, and that's actually get me invested in the going-ons of this world. I really want to see more of that, and I do hope this show gets a second season. Unfortunately, this didn't always sit well with people, as again, it does sort of just sneak up on you, come out of nowhere, and it does sort of muck itself up a lot. However, I do think that everything is handled to the best of its ability. I think that the script was very good. I really loved all the characters. I am going to say Black Bullet is a 9 out of 10. Yeah, I know, a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that, but this is the way I saw things. I thought this series was excellent. I thought it had a lot of interesting plot ideas. I thought everything was executed very well. I got a lot of stuff that I've been wanting other animes and TV shows to do. I really loved this show. And give it a chance. If you can't get into it, that's just fine, but I could. And what could you get into? In the comments section below, give me the animes and stuff that you like that other people don't. We all know we like a movie or a TV show or two that other people keep telling us we're wrong for liking. Leave that in the comments below. And as always, click to like and click to subscribe, because these are the kinds of things I like to talk about.